What's the best country in the world? Where do people actually want to move to? I'm going to show you some stats today that are very interesting and that might help you figure that out. All right, so the first stat I wanted to show you guys is immigrant population as a percentage of total population. Obviously, the Vatican is going to be 100%, but there's also some anomalies here. So, for example, some states are really small, like Monaco and Liechtenstein. They're obviously countries that are like, it's nice to say that it's good to live in them, but it's so hard to move to them that it doesn't really count as like being an effective tip, I would say. Also, the Gulf states, a lot of people move there, but this stats are probably distorted because they have a really, really low naturalization rate. So you could be there for like 20, 30, 40 years and not be considered a citizen. Also, a lot of people move there, especially from like South Asia, and they work really low tier jobs in really harsh conditions. So those might also not be like the best countries for you to move to if you realistically want just like a better job, a good opportunity, and to save a little bit more money. One country that I would mention here, like starting from Luxembourg. It's already. Oh, sorry, this one is not Luxembourg. Starting from Luxembourg, it's already like a fairly big country with actual ways of naturalization, and like you see, it's 47%. So it's insane how many people actually want to move there. Oman, Bahrain. If you go down here, Hong Kong, that's also obvious. There's Saudi Arabia, another Gulf state, and then Singapore, which a lot of people want to move to. 37% are foreign-born citizens, foreign-born residents. Sorry. Uh, and yeah, and then Australia and Switzerland. So those are the two more main, let's say, Western countries, and they're like one third of their population was born outside, which is insane. It's a very, very high number. You can see also if you keep going down, there's New Zealand, there's Israel, there's Canada, 21%, and a lot of European countries. Then so Sweden, Austria, Belgium. Ireland, San Marino, Norway. Norway's at 16%, Germany, and then I finally got to America. So America is around 15%, but you have to remember the 15% in America is 50 million, which is more than the 30 million there are in Western Europe. So America is really big, and it's very clear that lots and lots of people also want to move to America. The UK and France a little bit lower. There are some South European states like Italy, for example, that are a little bit lower as well. Portugal, Chile is here. And then let's see. I think this is also very interesting to see the lowest countries of all. So the countries are like the smallest immigrant population. You can see Cuba is virtually none, Vietnam, Myanmar. Funny enough, those are all communist states, but let's reconsider that. There's China as well. You can also see that very big underdeveloped countries have a very low immigrant populations. So, for example, China is like 0.1%. If you think of Brazil, it's also only 0.4%, and India is a little bit higher. Yeah, it's also statistically the same, 0.4%. You can clearly see that the countries down here, that is, countries that people don't move to, are probably a little bit worse than countries that a lot of people want to move to. So this might be one of the most interesting statistics if you actually want to see, well, where are actually people moving? Where do they actually want to live? The second graph I want to show you, it's also on Wikipedia, is the household disposable income per capita. It already includes social transfer, so it means like if you pay more taxes but you get something back, like in transfers and stuff, it's going to be considered. So it's good for welfare states. And first thing you see is like exactly the countries with the highest immigration are also the countries with the highest income per capita, which makes perfect sense. People are moving and they're really voting with their feet, and they're like choosing to move to countries that pay more. But one thing that I want to clarify is those countries are really good for people who work normal jobs, for people who work like they're engineers, they're lawyers, they're doctors, and they're also like more basic, lower income jobs, like I don't know, they're a waiter, they're a receptionist, or something like that. Because those countries have a higher minimum wage, they have a higher structure of productivity where you can actually work a normal job and make a living and even save some money, especially compared to like lower income country. If you live in one of those countries, like if you live in the US, for example, or if you live in Germany, or I don't know, in France, you might be saying, no, that's not true. I can't save anything. But like, believe me, when you talk to people from lower income countries and you see how much they struggle, you're going to see that, yeah, you do have it pretty well off, even if you're in the lower class in those types of countries. So the third stat that I want to show you is a stat that's a little bit different. It's about cost of living. and it ranks 100 is average, and then anything below 100 is cheap, and anything above 100 is expensive. So this might be better because it actually shows where you might want to move if you're making your money somewhere else, or if you're maybe already rich, if you already got a net worth, and you can see that countries above 100. 100 is just the US, by the way. So 100 is average. The average is considered the US, which isn't true. But anyway, countries above the US are actually more expensive than the US on average, which is insane because the US is pretty expensive. But like Ireland, Denmark, Israel, Switzerland, and those random islands as well. And so I don't know. Maybe if you're already rich, or if you're a nomad, and you don't really care about like the best schools, the best quality of life, you don't have kids, you're young. Uh, you might consider some of those lower countries over here. Obviously, maybe some of the really lower countries are that low for a reason, but there are a lot of much cheaper countries. I mean, imagine if a country is like 20 here, it means that is like literally like 5 times less expensive than the US. And that's without converting, like that's for their income. So if you have a US income and you go there, it's going to be like 10 or 20 times cheaper for you. So yeah, countries that might be interesting here might be Egypt, India, Myanmar. Let me see another one that I would consider. Let me see. I'm gonna look through this as well with you guys. Oh, Turkey. Yeah, Turkey. The currency has been really going down. It's close. Well, it is in Europe or close to Europe, depending on who you ask. So that definitely might be a country for you to consider. Thailand, obviously, digital nomad hub. Malaysia is a country that lots of people talk about as well. Indonesia, Russia, and you can see that like it really makes a difference. Oh, Brazil's over here at 49. Saudi Arabia is quite impressive because it was like a very high immigrant population, but it's also a fairly low cost of living. So that might be interesting for you guys to look at. And yeah, I'm gonna put all those links in the description. I like going through those numbers, so if you like them too, you can check them out by yourself. And last stat I want to show you real quick. It's actually a map. It's annual sunshine hours, so over 3,000, less than 3,000, all that. It's very intuitive because it's color based, and you can see that. Well, most people prefer to live where there's a lot of sunshine. I think that's pretty obvious. There are exceptions, of course, but you can still use the map to find out where those exceptions are. So I feel like if you're hearing me, you're probably from like Australia, Canada, America, and the good news for you is you're fairly lucky. I mean, there's a lot of green areas in Australia, a lot of green areas in America. Green, what I mean by green is 2,400 to 3,000 hours of sunshine, which is probably a good amount. You wouldn't want to over 4,000. A little, I think that's a little bit too much, but you do you. And well, if you still want to leave these countries, you might just tie this graphic with other graphics I've shown you. So, for example, we know that Turkey has a very low cost of living, and if you see here, Turkey is also green, so it might be an interesting combo for you. India was also one of the cheapest in the previous graphic, and at least the southern half of it seems to be very sunny. And of course, if you just want to stay in your country, you could maybe think of moving somewhere that adapts better to your climate and weather preferences, because that is something that I don't think you adapt to. I think like if it's raining every day, you just feel miserable every day. That's how I felt in Ireland and the UK, but that's for another day.